Years of dieting experience, going from obese to shredded, bodybuilding and combat sports. I am here to give you the complete beginner-friendly guide to losing weight. Before anything, let's start by taking our measurements. Ideally, you want to measure as many things as you can as early as possible. Take photos that go into your camera roll. Maybe use the health app on your phone. Use a notepad. Take down your weight. You can also measure different parts of your body. Personally, I don't do this, but I've definitely seen various different people do this, and also trainers do this whenever they start working with clients. I have a folder in my phone for progress photos. I also measure all of my weight daily. And now a quick tip is when you're measuring weight, make sure it's in the morning, fasted, before you drank anything, and after you pee for the most accurate and most consistent results. Because if you drink or eat something before weighing yourself, it can fluctuate water weight or the food that's just sitting in your stomach and can give you inaccurate data. Now I'll expand more on this later, but the reason why we want to track our progress every single day is because it will motivate us and help keep us on track, especially on the most difficult of days. Start weight loss simple. Before we get on to any of the nuclear options that will 100% guarantee results, but are so much harder to stick to, let's cover the 20% things that will give us 80% of the results. So number one, start by slowly cutting back on junk food. This is exactly how I started. I began my most successful diet by simply cutting out little things like sugar from coffee, which then later escalated to sugar and other things and junk food in general. The slower you start, the more it's gonna stick with you, and we want to build habits that stick and not just go for these quick results. Number two, consume less liquid calories. This is a no-brainer. An amazing way to take in less calories and not even notice is just simply to reduce the liquid calories. This is the least satiating way of getting calories into your diet. Think of this from the opposite perspective. Whenever I'm coaching people to gain weight and they have trouble eating, the number one thing I tell them is to drink more shakes. Get in more liquid calories. Now for weight loss, it's opposite. We avoid them and replace it with real solid food. Number three, add more protein into your diet. Not only will this allow you to retain more muscle and look better at the end of your fat loss, but protein is also the most satiating macronutrient. If you've ever noticed, it's hard to overeat on something like meat or on lean cottage cheese, on eggs. It's not because these foods are special anyway. They're just high in protein, and protein is harder to digest. Therefore, it sits in our stomachs longer, it burns more calories while it digests than any other food, and therefore keeps you fuller for longer. Number four, low calorie, high volume foods. This is a fantastic one that probably changed my diet the most out of all of these. As soon as you realize that you can fill up on like 2 pounds or a kilogram of carrots and only get like 300 calories, your diet will change forever. And number five, find healthy foods that you can enjoy and eat for life. Experiment and see what you could pick out and put into your diet. You'd be surprised by the amount of healthy foods that you're going to start liking within the future. Start experimenting. Maybe you'll find a vegetable you really love that's low calories and will keep you satiated throughout your diet. For me, this was carrots. I also fell in love with celery, which sounds absolutely stupid and it does sound like I'm lying, but I'm not. It was just something to crunch on and I really loved the texture, so I ended up eating it a lot. So once again, experiment, find healthy foods that you like, but this is going to take some trial and error. So these 5 tips should get you into pretty decent shape without any of the crazy hacks and the overcomplicated tracking that I myself and many other athletes use to cut weight. This is exactly how I began my weight loss journey, and within 6 months, I got into pretty decent shape from being a completely obese kid. Now, one thing that you should know is that weight loss is easier at the start. You can lose a crazy amount of weight at the start of your diet. You can proportionally lose a large amount of fat the bigger you are compared to when you get leaner, and it becomes harder over time to lose the weight. It's kind of like squeezing a lemon. At first, a lot of the juice comes out quickly, but then to get the last little droplets, it's very, very difficult. The same thing is with fat loss. At the very start, it's easy. You're losing fat like crazy, the scale's dropping every single day. But a few months in, that's where it starts to get hard. So I hope you don't get the wrong idea here. I'm not telling you that it's difficult. It's the complete opposite. I'm trying to give you motivation to start. Just dive headfirst into this, and within a couple of months, you're going to see that the progress is rapid. Then once it starts plateauing, we can talk about this later, but for any beginner, you're going to lose weight extremely quickly. Now let's quickly talk about exercise. Exercise is fantastic for weight loss. I like to call this a 2-in-1 deal because when you're exercising, you don't really get hungry and you're also burning fat at the same time. Now, by all means, exercise is not necessary, but it is a major help as it can help you burn a little bit of extra calories and also give you a better composition at the end of your weight loss journey than if you never exercised. Speaking of, let's talk about the 2 different types of exercise you can do for fat loss and exactly how to incorporate these into your journey. First, we have cardio. Cardio is amazing. It can burn up to 1,000 calories per hour, with most cardio methods burning between 300 to 600 calories per hour. As a beginner, you only really need 15 to 30 minutes of cardio, and you should build this up over time. Don't delve headfirst into 30 minutes of cardio. And you don't even have to do it every day. Maybe just 3 times a week should be enough at the very start. Now, why am I saying this? Because I personally made this mistake. When I started doing cardio, I started jumping rope and I went for 30 minutes every day. No rest days, no breaks. And very soon after, I started getting major shin splints. So you can overwork your body in that way, and it's better to take your recovery more seriously. No, you're not lazy by doing cardio 3 times a week. You're quite literally just recharging your body so you can go harder on the next session. Don't let your ego get in the way of this, because mine did, and it led to some pretty bad consequences. Now, the max cardio you should ever be doing for fat loss is 1 hour per day. What I've noticed is anything over the 60-minute time frame is much more likely to cause psychological and physical fatigue, which in my experience lowers the adherence to your diet. Now, one last thing I'll say is find a cardio method you love and you can stick to. Everybody told me that running was the best cardio for weight loss, but it wasn't until I found biking and skipping rope that I actually started doing cardio consistently. Doing cardio consistently, even if it doesn't burn the most calories, is so much more superior to doing a cardio method that you're only gonna stick to for like 1 week. Now, covering the other end of the spectrum, we have weightlifting. This doesn't burn as many calories, but I find that I can have more fun weightlifting and I can spend more time in the gym enjoying myself, and during that time, I ain't eating. So in that sense, it can burn equal calories. Now, as a beginner who's never trained in the gym before, you have a special ability called body recomposition, where you can lose fat and gain muscle at the exact same time. You should capitalize on this if you are going through your weight loss journey, as after around the first year of training, this will go away. The more you train, the more harder it becomes to burn fat and build muscle at the same time, until eventually you have to stick to one or the other. So have fun while it lasts, because a solid body recomposition can be completely life-changing. As a beginner, you should max really go 3 times a week. You can go more. When I started working out, I just fell in love with it, so I used to go basically every day. Was this optimal? Probably not, but don't feel pressured to go anywhere above 3 times per week. Same thing with cardio. Don't overcomplicate it. Just do exercises you love, and then you can fine-tune them later in your journey if you stick with it. But the first thing you want is consistency if you're going to lift weights. If you're going to lift weights during your fat loss journey, you will not only preserve a bunch of muscle when dieting, but you can also have the chance to build up a pretty decent frame while cutting down. Let's cover sleep. This is one of the key pillars of health. You have diet, exercise, and sleep, and without sleep, nothing else is going to work correctly. Sleep is directly responsible for the amount of muscle you build, the amount of calories that get stored as fat, and your cravings. So shoot for 7 to 9 hours in sleep, which correlates to like 8 to 10 hours in bed. The one big mistake I see a lot of people make is they say that they sleep a lot, or they say they get 7 hours of sleep, but that 7 hours, if it's low quality, can actually be more like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, which is absolutely crazy. So you know the basics: avoid caffeine before bed, sleep in a dark, cold room, get enough exercise throughout the day so you're tired at the end of it. I could make a whole separate video on sleep, but I think for the most part you understand how to get more and better sleep. Now, before we move on to any more advanced topics, let's cover the mental aspect of losing weight. As I always preach, weight loss is 90% mentality. We all know what we should be eating. We all know what exercises we should be doing, but it's actually sticking to them that's the hard part. As mentioned before, find things that you enjoy doing. Don't strive for perfection, but instead at the beginning, strive for consistency. Consistency will always beat perfection if perfection isn't consistent. Find ways that you can psychologically enjoy what you're doing. If you're miserable during your diet, you're never going to stick to it and it's not going to work. Find little ways that you can change your eating habits, your exercise habits over time to build into a different lifestyle. If you go from 0 to 100, within a few days or months, you're going to fall off and it's going to be completely useless. Now, after a certain amount of time, if you hit a plateau or your weight stops dropping and it seems like nothing is working anymore, this is where we can start taking a look at these more complex systems. So if you're ready for this, let's go check it out. Nuclear weight loss. I call this nuclear because the following is a foolproof method that will allow anyone to lose weight, and I mean anyone, as long as they're psychologically strong enough to handle it. This method is the equivalent of a compass for a lost traveler. This is the most optimal method, and when nothing else is working, we pull out the big guns. So first you need to calculate your maintenance calories, and there's 2 ways to do this. Both are fine. There's the lazy way and the elite way. Now, of course, one is going to be much more accurate than the other, and just depending how dedicated you are to this, pick and choose whichever one you want and go with it. The margin of error for the lazy one is going to be like roughly 10 to 20%, and you can always adjust in the future as long as you stick to the whole plan. So number 1, the lazy way. Literally just Google online calorie maintenance calculator. We also have one in the second link in the description, so you can check that out if you don't want to search it up anywhere. And it's as simple as that. You're going to get a number between like 2,000 to 3,000, and that is your maintenance calories. Now number 2, the elite way. You're going to have to track your calories. Every single thing you put in your mouth, every piece of food, every single liquid for the next 7 days. Each day, you're going to get a number between 2,000 and 3,000. You're going to add up all of these numbers and then divide it by 7. Once again, you should get a number between 2,000 to 3,000 roughly, and that is your exact maintenance calories. The margin of error with this is going to be like 5%, so it's much more accurate compared to the lazier way. Now we go into a deficit of 300 to 500 calories. Let's say your maintenance is 3,000. Start eating 2,700 calories to 2,500 calories. If you don't want to do that, then just add in 30 minutes of cardio, or you can do both. Now, the only surefire way to know that you're eating the correct amount of calories is by using a food scale and literally tracking it. Now, if you don't want to do this, you can roughly make sure that you're eating a 300 to 500 calorie deficit by eating the same foods every single day and just removing a food or a meal that you know has 300 to 500 calories. As I mentioned before, the best way to go about putting yourself in a deficit is to take a little bit of calories away from your diet and a little bit of calories away from your cardio. So for example, you could take away 200 calories from your diet and do 15 minutes of cardio. This seems to be the best way for most people in order to avoid physical burnout from too much cardio and nutrient deficiencies from not eating enough food. But remember, this is just a recommendation. It's not the end all be all. See what works the best for you and stick to that. Now, how do we avoid adaptation during our deficits? Your body wants homeostasis. It wants to remain at a certain point. If you drop your calories, if you go into a deficit, your body's going to try to lower something like your activity in order to burn less calories and bring down the maintenance to match your deficit. When people say dieting slows your metabolism, this is exactly what they mean. Yes, your metabolism will slow down because your body will subconsciously take lazier paths to conserve the calories that you're no longer eating. So to make sure this doesn't happen, buy a step tracker. Use your phone to track your steps. If you do cardio, make sure it stays at the exact same intensity with the same length of time. Do not let your brain subconsciously creep up on you and allow your deficit to go to waste. You will see this, especially the further you get into a deficit. You're gonna start taking these weird and stupid shortcuts. Like, you're gonna be too lazy to get up off your couch to grab the remote. Or especially one that I see in myself is when I'm on a phone call, I no longer walk around and talk to people. I just lay in my bed like a zombie while talking to the other person. So yeah, try to notice these and avoid them. Now let's cover the cycle. This is all there is to the nuclear option for weight loss. This will guarantee that you're going to lose weight as long as you follow it. You stick with the same deficit as long as your weight is still dropping. Do not change anything. If it's working, don't fix it. Now, if your weight loss does stop, if it does plateau, give it 1 week. We want to wait 1 week in order to make sure that it's not just some body water fluctuation. And after a week, if it's still not dropping, then lower your calories again by 300 to 500, with the best combination being a little bit from cardio and a little bit from your diet. Now, just to give you a head start on your weight loss journey, here are 10 rapid fire tips to make dieting a breeze. Number 1, drink diet soda. This is amazing for cravings and just filling your stomach up. Number 2, caffeine is an amazing pre-workout and it also dampens your appetite. If you get cravings, drink some coffee. Number 3, meal prepping in advance will allow you to eat healthier without any thought. It'll kill decision fatigue and you're more likely to eat healthier if you don't have to choose what to eat. Number 4, don't cut out your favorite foods. Instead, find healthier alternatives. Think frozen yogurt over ice cream. Number 5, stop buying junk food. If you don't have it at home, you're less likely to eat it. And if you still leave your house and go out of your way just for the junk food, then by all means, whatever, have it. That means you really wanted it. Number 6, surround yourself with health conscious people and content creators. You want to brainwash yourself into becoming healthy. Number 7, eat smaller meals throughout the day. Number 8, switch from red meat to white meat. You still get the same protein, but you can eat more of the meat for less calories. Of course, it's not going to be as nutrient dense, but if you're strictly trying to lower your calories, you can make the swap. Number 9, use oil spray when cooking. This can reduce your calories by 1 to 200 whenever cooking food. And 10, eat more fiber. Our bodies can't really digest fiber that well, so it ends up being very low calorie, high density food. If you want a head start on your weight loss journey, press the first link in the description. We have a free Skool group that you can join. I'm going to soon make this paid, so for anyone that joins now, you get a free lifetime membership in a community of like-minded individuals. And if you ever want more personalized help from me, I'll be in there every single day. If I gave you anything of value, please consider subscribing and don't forget to stay savvy with your diet.